ABARAT by Clive Barker. It's got cool pictures too. So you're gonna get to see them as well. To Amelia and David Armstrong. I dreamed a limitless book, a book unbound. It leaves scattered in fantastic abundance. On every line there was a new horizon drawn, new heavens supposed, new states, new souls. One of those souls, dozing through some imagined afternoon, dreamed these words, and needing a hand to set them down, made mine. Clive Barker. So we're going to start with the prologue called The Mission. 3 is the number of those who do holy work. 2 is the number of those who do lovers' work. 1 is the number of those who do perfect evil or perfect good. From the notes of a monk on the order of Saint Oko, his name unknown. Check out this art. It's really fun. Move some stuff around. Okay. The storm came up out of the southwest like a friend, stalking its prey on legs of lightning. The wind it brought with it was a foul. I'm having stutters. Hold on, let me restart. And you know what? You're gonna get all of this, so I love you. Thank you. It says, the storm came up out of the southwest like a fiend, stalking its prey on legs of lightning. The wind it brought with it was as foul as the devil's own breath, and it stirred up the peaceful waters by the sea. By the time the little red boat that the 3 women had chosen for their perilous voyage had emerged from the shelter of the islands and was out in the open waters, the waves were as steep as cliffs, 25-30 feet tall. Somebody sent this storm, said Josephine, who was doing her best to steer the boat, which was called the Lear. The sail shook like a leaf in the tempest, swinging back and forth wildly, nearly impossible to hold down. I swear, Diamanda, this is no natural storm. Diamanda, the oldest of the 3 women, sat in the center of the tiny vessel with her dark blue robes gathered around her and their precious cargo pressed to her bosom. Let's not get hysterical, she told Josephine to Mespa. She wiped a long piece of white hair out of her eyes. Nobody saw us leave the palace of Bowers. We escaped unseen. I'm certain of it. So why this storm? Said Mespa, who was a black woman renowned for her resilience, but who now looked close to being washed away by the rain beating down on the women's heads. Why are you so surprised that the heavens complain? Diamanda said. Didn't we know the world would be turned upside down by what just happened? Josephine fought with the sail, cursing it. Indeed, isn't this the way it should be? Said Diamanda. Isn't it right that the sky is torn to tatters and the sea put in a frenzy? Would you prefer it if the world did not care? No, of course not, said Mespa, holding on to the edge of the pitching boat, her face as white as her close-cropped hair was black. I just wish we weren't out in the middle of it all. Well, we are, said the old woman, and there's not a thing any of us can do about it. So I suggest you finish emptying your stomach, Mespa. It's empty, the sick woman said. I have nothing left to bring up. And you, Josephine, handle the sail. Oh, goodness, Josephine murmured. Look. What is it? Said Diamanda. Josephine pointed up at the sky. Several stars had been shaken down from the firmament, great white cobs of fire piercing the clouds and falling seaward. One of them was heading directly towards the Lear. Down, Josephine yelled, catching hold of the back of Diamanda's robes and pushing the old woman off her seat. Diamanda hated to be touched. Manhandling, she called it. She started to berate Josephine roundly for what she had done, but when she was drowned out by the roaring sound of the falling star as it rushed toward the vessel, it burst the billowing sail of the Lear, burning a hole right through the canvas, and then plunged into the sea, where it was extinguished with a great hissing sound. I swear that was meant for us, Mespa said as they had all raised their heads from the boards. She helped Diamanda to her feet. All right, the old lady replied, yelling over the din of the seething waters. That was closer than I would have liked. So you think we are targets? I don't know, and I don't care, said Diamanda. We just have to trust that we just have to trust to the holiness of our mission. Mespa licked her pale lips before she chanced her next words. Are we sure it's holy? She said. Perhaps what we're doing is sacrilegious. Perhaps she should be left to rest in peace, said Josephine. Yes, Mespa said. She was barely more than a girl, Mespa, Josephine said. She had a life of perfect love ahead of her, and it was stolen. Josephine's right, said Diamanda. Do you think a soul like hers would sleep quietly, with so much life left yet to live, so many dreams that she never saw come true? Mespa nodded. You're right, of course, she conceded. We must do this work, whatever the cost. The thunderhead that had followed them from the islands was now directly overhead. It threw down a vile, icy rain, thick as phlegm, which struck the boards of the Lear like drumming. The lightning came down around the trembling vessel on every side, its lurid light throwing the curling waves into silhouette as they rose to break over the boat. The sail's no use to us now, said Josephine, looking up at the tattered canvas. Then we must find other means, said Diamanda. Mespa, take hold of our cargo for a few moments and be careful. With great reverence, Mespa took the small box, its sides and lids decorated with the closely etched lines of talismans. Relieved of her burden, Diamanda walked down to the stern of the Lear. The pitching of the boat threatened several times to throw her over the side before she reached the safety of the little seat. There she knelt and leaned forward, plunging her arthritic hands into the icy waters. You best be careful, Mespa warned her. There's a 50-foot mantisanak that's been following us for the last half hour. I saw it when I was throwing up. No self-respecting fish is going to want my old bones, Diamanda said. She's no sooner spoken than the mottled head of the mantisaka, not quite the size the Mespa had described, but still huge, broke the surface. Its vast maw gaped, not more than a foot from Diamanda's outstretched arms. Goddess, the lady yelled, withdrawing her hands and sitting up sharply. The frustrated fish pushed against the back of the boat, as if to nudge one of the human morsels on board into its own element. So, said Diamanda, I think this calls for some moon magic. Wait, said Josephine. You said if we used magic, we would risk drawing attention to ourselves. So I did, Diamanda replied, but in our present state, we risk drowning or being eaten by that thing. The mantasnek was now moving up the side of the Lear, turning up its enormous head and fixing the women with its silver and scarlet eye. Mespa clutched the little box even closer to her bosom. It won't take me, she said, a profound terror in her voice. No, said Diamanda reassuringly, it won't. She raised her aged hands. Dark threads of energy moved through her veins and leapt from her fingertips, forming delicate shapes in the air, and then fled heavenward. Lady Moon, she called, you know we would not call on you unless we needed your intervention. So we do. Lady, we three are no of no consequence. We ask this boon not for ourselves, but for the soul of the one who was taken from among us before she was ready to leave. Please, lady, bear us all safety through this storm, so that her life may find continuance. Name our destination, Josephine yelled over the roar of the water. She knows our minds, Diamanda said. Even so, Josephine replied, name it. Diamanda glanced back at her companion, faintly irritated. If you insist, she said. Then reaching toward the sky again, she said, take us to the hereafter. Good, said Josephine. Lady, hear us, Diamanda started up to say, but she was interrupted by Mespa. She heard, Diamanda. What? She heard. The three women looked up. The roiling storm clouds were parting, as though pressed aside by titanic hands. Through the widening slit there came a shaft of moonlight, the purest white, yet somehow warm. It illuminated the trough between the waves where the women's boat was buried. It covered the vessel from end to end with light. Thank you, lady, Diamanda murmured. The moonlight was moving over the boat, searching out every part of the tiny vessel, even to the shadowy keel that lay beneath the water. It blessed every nail and board from prow to stern, every grommet, every oar, every pivot, every fleck of paint, every inch of rope. It touched the women, too, inspiring fresh life in their weary bones and warming their itchy skin. All of this took perhaps 10 seconds. Then the clouds began to close again, cutting the moonlight off. Just as abruptly as it had begun, the blessing was over. The sea seemed doubtedly dark when the light had passed away, the wind keener, but the timbers of the boat had acquired a subtle luminescence from the appearance of the moon, and they were stronger for the benediction they had received. The boat no longer creaked when it was broadsided. Instead, it seemed to rise effortlessly up the steep sides of the waves. That's better, Diamanda said. She reached out to reclaim their precious cargo. I can take care of it, Mespa protested. I'm sure you can, said Diamanda, but the responsibility lies with me. I know the world we're going to. Remember, you don't. You remember the way it was, Josephine reminded her, but it will have changed. Very possibly, Diamanda agreed, but I still have a better idea of what lies ahead of us than the two of you do. Now give me the box, Mespa. Mespa handed the treasure over, and the women's vessel carved its way through the lightless sea, picking up speed as it went, the bow lifting a little way above the waters. The rain continued to beat down on the women's heads, gathering in its bottom of the boat until it was 4 inches deep. But the voyagers took no notice of its assault. They simply sat together in grateful silence as the magic of the moon hurried them toward their destination. There, said Josephine. She pointed off toward the distant shore. I see the hereafter. I see it too, said Mespa. Oh, thank goddess. I see it. I see it. Hush yourselves, Diamanda said. We don't want to draw attention. It looks empty, Josephine said, scanning the landscape ahead. You said there was a town. There is a town, but it's a little distance from the harbor. I see no harbor. Well, there's not much left of it, Diamanda said. It was burned down long before my time. The keel of the lyre was grating on the shore of the hereafter. Josephine was first out, hauling on the rope and securing it to a piece of the aged timber that was driven into the ground. Mespa helped Diamanda out, and the three of them stood side by side, assessing the unpromising landscape spread before them. The storm had followed them across the divide between the two worlds, its fury undimmed. Now let's remember, said Diamanda, we're here to do one thing, and one thing only. We get our business done, and then we leave. Remember, we should not be here. We know that, said Mespa. But let's not be hasty and make a mistake, Josephine said, glancing at the box Diamanda carried. For her sake, we have to do this right. We carry the hopes of the ABARAT with us. Even Diamanda was quieted by this remark. She seemed to meditate on it for a long moment, her head downturned the rain, washing her white hair into curtains that framed the box she held. Then she said, "Are you both ready?" The women murmured that, yes, they were, and with Diamanda leading the way, they left the shore and headed through the rain-lashed grass to find the place where Providence had arranged they would do their holy work. That is the end of, what did it say? Hold on, let me get it. Oh, that was the prologue, okay? It's prologue. The next part is called Morning Tide. However, I am going to complete this video in a little bit. I just want to take the time to give credit where credit's due. Clive Barker, ABARAT. Artwork is fresh. And we will see it all throughout the book. Very cool. So yeah, whoop whoop. Thanks for enjoying a story with me. And I'm gonna turn it off right now, 17.